My ex-partner's girlfriend is claiming my daughter as hers, so I confronted her.
No, that's mine.
January 20th, 2019. I'm using a throwaway because mutual friends use Reddit. Sorry for the length. My 27 female ex-boyfriend is James, 28 male. James and I dated for 3 years between spring 2014 and the end of winter 2017. Since my daughter, 4 female, is obviously older than 3, it's clear that she is not biologically James's. Her father was not someone who wanted to be involved with her and signed away all rights when she was born, so he is not in the picture. By the way, this comes from user using a fab throwaway, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, James and I were originally friends, which grew into a relationship when my daughter was around the age of 1. As my daughter grew a little bit older, she saw James as a de facto parent, a role that he happily stepped up to. She knows that he is not quote-unquote daddy, but had the strongest bond with him of anyone outside of the biological family. Our relationship finished due to a difference in personal timelines. James wanted to buy a house together. We had been living together for the past year, but we still each had our own places and moved to another city for work while I was happy where I was located. It became a self-imposed ultimatum, and while James didn't actually move, it was clear that the relationship was over. We stayed friends, and he changed from de facto dad to fun Uncle James to my daughter. Well, yeah, that's okay. I feel like that can be de facto dad and funkle are kind of like, that's a lateral move.
I like that. I like that.
Funkle and de facto dad.
People are stepping up. I like it.
Yeah. We have both made sure that she was stable about the situation, something that she clearly seems to be. As I do with other friends, my daughter and I will occasionally visit James, who sometimes has my daughter without me there for a couple of hours at a time if I have to run errands or something similar. I have no reason at all to worry about James with my daughter, who is always all smiles and 5 more minutes when I get back. About 6 months ago, though, James started dating Tracy, 24 female. She's someone that he works with, who I actually first met while we were dating.
Don't worry about her.
Their relationship itself is not the issue. However, there have been instances that have caused concern in the past few months. The first was when James invited me and my daughter around for a play date with James's nephew who he was babysitting. Tracy was there too, which I expected. However, when we arrived and James greeted my daughter with a hug, she commented on how she looked like her daddy, meaning James. Okay. Maybe. Okay. We're going to keep going. We're going to gather some more information.
She's trying to understand the world. She's young. Okay.
Maybe she just doesn't know.
Yeah.
Both James and I said that my daughter wasn't James's, which is something James later said had come up in conversation between them before. She only remarked that she meant they had a strong father-daughter bond, which I thought was odd, but ignored. There have been a couple of other times where I have seen Tracy either out and about or at planned events when she has said that my daughter really likes spending time with James, which obviously I know, though I just took it as awkward exes chat. The reason I'm posting is about what happened a couple days ago. Again, James was babysitting his nephew and had invited myself and my daughter to the park for an afternoon. We get there and everything is fine until my phone rings and I'm told that there's an emergency in the office that I have to sort out because X, Y, and Z aren't picking up their phone. I mentioned this and James and Tracy offer to look after my daughter and stay in the park while I rush over to the office, which is 5 minutes away, to sort out the problem. I'm gone for about half an hour overall. The issue wasn't really an issue, as it never is. And when I get back, everyone is where I left them and all happy. What is your suspicion, Riley?
They're going to take your daughter. They're going to kidnap your kid.
No.
They're going to be like, oh, this is fun.
No,
look at
they're
me
not.
playing as dad. Look at me playing as mom. We're going to keep her forever.
I highly doubt this. So we start getting ready to go home when Tracy mentions to me that someone she knew, an amateur photographer, happened to be in the park taking pictures of the landscape and had taken a couple of shots of the group, my daughter included, and that she'd send them over because they were apparently really sweet.
Okay.
I was a bit perturbed by someone apparently just coming over and photographing my child, but I thought glass half full and decided it was only a nice gesture. A couple of hours later, Tracy sends me over the solo pictures of my daughter. She says that she didn't give her friend permission to use any of the solo pictures of my daughter on her professional page, but the ones of the scenery and of James's nephew were on there, and if I wanted to give consent, then my daughters could be on there too. They were actually very cute, and I looked on the photographer's page to see the rest of them from the day, and there were some sweet candids of the nephew and some nice couple shots of James and Tracy, but the last picture on there was a family-style portrait of everyone, my daughter included. The caption said something like, the James's surname and Tracy's surname know how to have fun. Don't use my daughter as like a prop in your cosplay family? What are we doing?
Stop using my daughter to gather more clients for your photography business.
Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Like, it's one picture.
One picture that
you
could have
think that the
generated.
photographers in cahoots now?
I don't know. I mean, if it was a good photo,
Like,
and
they're
people,
like
people are
texting?
like, I want to feel that moment. I want that moment to be embedded on my wall forever. Probably so. Never know.
So I immediately messaged the page asking for the picture to be taken down as it had my daughter in it without my permission. They replied, apologizing for the issue, saying that Tracy had said that the little girl was James's and that he gave his consent. I then messaged James asking him not to give consent for anything involving my daughter and to remind Tracy yet again that he is not my daughter's father. He replied saying that he never gave his consent for any group pictures to be on there, and he resented the accusation. I messaged Tracy later on, making it clear that I didn't want my daughter to be used in any kind of situation where the facts weren't clear. And no, James was not her father. I did not get a reply. Okay, clearly there's something going on with Tracy here. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to be that ex-girlfriend who tries to get her ex to sneak around behind his girlfriend's back for him to see my daughter, but at the same time, he's done nothing to stop Tracy from acting out this charade of my daughter being James's and therefore hers. And I can see why this is a big deal. Part of me is like, thinking just within myself, I'm like, does that even matter? It's like, I wouldn't even care. It's like, I know that's my daughter.
Yeah.
But I don't want my daughter getting confused about who's her dad.
Who's daddy? Who's
right,
mommy?
exactly.
Ooh.
So if whenever she's around him and she's being told that James is her dad,
yeah.
What happens when now she's like, well, why doesn't daddy James live with mommy? It's like, well, they're not, now she's confused and probably it's going to make her upset. And so that's why I did the math in my own head. I'm like, why would it matter? I feel like that's why it matters the most.
OP, sounds like a conversation and some boundaries need to be laid out.
Yeah, I think actually this is a perfect moment to approach a situation with curiosity. Clearly there's something going on with Tracy.
Okay.
So I would say talk to Tracy. Be like,
What's going
hey,
on, girl?
Why is it that this keeps happening?
Yeah.
Don't come at her like ready
see
to
her
tussle.
Perspective.
Just be with curiosity. Be like, why is it that you see her as James's?
Mm-hmm.
If I just cut them both out, then my daughter will be confused, though I know that she'll bounce back. I know that James will be hurt too, but I need to put mine and my daughter's feelings before that. It's just getting to me that we were able to be fine and stable through our whole breakup, yet a completely avoidable situation is what will finish this off. Should I just move on without James and Tracy in my and my daughter's lives? Am I simply overreacting and becoming that quote-unquote ex regardless? And there are some top comments. Here we go. I am not a troll today. This seems super simple to me. Don't leave your kid alone with people who want to pretend she is theirs. Let her visit for sure, but when you're there, done deal. If they offer to be alone with her again, decline. And if they push for a reason why, tell them why. And a deleted user says, the confusing part is it's like OP wants James to be a fill-in dad, but he can't make any decisions. The whole thing is a bit weird. I'd say cut both of them off as it'll only get more confusing. I didn't get that vibe. Oh, that OP wants James to be a fill-in dad? Where was that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that is a little weird. Okay, I don't know. People see different things.
Yeah, RTT 790. It's only going to get more awkward and uncomfortable moving forward as your daughter ages, especially when you get a new partner. Best bet is to cut them off and move on. Your daughter is young and will be fine without them in her life. Strawberry Blonde Haze says, I think James choosing to keep someone like Tracy around does say a lot about his character and how stable a role model he may be in 5 to 10 to 15 years. The influence his partners have on OP's daughter may only increase as she gets closer to puberty and idolizes females she aspires to be like. One might think, but it's only an hour or two. Kids are very impressionable, especially in a single parent household. And there's an update from 3 days after the original post. Honestly, I mean,
definitely, I don't know. Everyone's making too quick of a decision.
Exactly.
You need to fill it out first, then make a decision from there. You just need more context.
Exactly. There was nowhere near enough information, I feel like, in that story for most of those comments to assume that stuff.
Yeah.
So we do have an update here. Let's get into it. So I got a lot more interest in my post than I expected. While some were either end of the spectrum, the majority seemed to suggest that James was too involved in my daughter's life. I had a long think about why I had pursued this route. To clarify, I did not force James into this position. He was happy to maintain a relationship with my daughter, given that he had been in her life for several years. The comments concerning where my daughter would be when James settled down and got married and had kids of his own also made me think. This situation was definitely one of convenience, especially given the fact that our relationship ended since James wanted to move away and I did not. I definitely had no plans to challenge any of James's life choices, nor did I ever expect him to prioritize myself and my daughter over anything else. Something I seemed not to convey clearly in my original post was that James really is just a friend and has been for the past year to me. And so because of that, I don't quote unquote use him for anything that a parent would do. On the he's not a babysitter or daycare posts, he sees her maybe once every 6 weeks. Which is, for those who may be wondering, that's not a lot.
That isn't, no. I think it's
10
awesome.
times a year, maybe.
It's awesome to keep in touch. I like that.
Yeah, so I see nothing wrong here yet. And since our relationship ended, he's been alone with her 3 times at most. So this is not me using our former relationship as a tool for free childcare. He asks to see my daughter. I don't make him make time for her. As a final clarifying point, this has never been a I want him so you can't have him situation. Our time together will always be cherished, but I do not want to pursue a romantic relationship with James again, and he doesn't with me. On to the update. After reading the comments to my post and thinking over the issues, I decided to send both James and Tracy messages apologizing for my reaction and my heat of the moment accusations the day after I made the post. James responded saying that it was water under the bridge and he would have been annoyed too in the situation.
Okay.
Tracy's response was different. All she sent was a message saying, I know he is daughter's father.
Go on.
Okay. I assured her that James was not my child's dad and even went as far as to apologize if I had seemed off with her or if my current relationship with James was an issue. She asked if we could meet up and talk, which I agreed to. We met for coffee and she said that she had been off with me, but not because of my relationship with James. Okay. She said the last year she had found out that she was infertile. And while James knew and was supportive, seeing him with my little girl who she knew he helped raise for several years got to her, which resulted in comments about him as daddy.
Uh-oh, so her being infertile, she's like, oh, this is my way of becoming a mother. Uh-oh, keep going. I need to understand the mind of this woman.
Curiosity, people. She then said that the whole photographer situation was set up.
I knew
oh my
it.
God.
I knew
it was.
Wait, then how did OP go to the job? Wait, did she set that up too? How did she get called away? Wait, keep going.
Okay. She had asked her friend who lived near the park to come and take some pictures of her, James, and the children as soon as it was clear that I was going to have to leave. So she literally did do the exact joke that I made. She told James the same thing she told me about the friend happening to be in the park and wanting some portfolio shots, but told the friend out of James's earshot that I was totally fine with the pictures happening and that James was my daughter's father, so she had an on-site parent regardless. She was the one who suggested the family portrait shot. She told the friend to stick that one online, but that the individual ones of my daughter needed to go through me first. She didn't think that I would be interested in looking at the other photos and thought I wouldn't see it. She said that having a picture of her partner, a little boy and a little girl, was enough to, quote, keep her going since her medical news was hitting her hard. And I can't argue with that at all. Tracy ended by saying that since James is the only father my daughter has ever known, she is therefore the closest thing she will ever have to a child with him. I didn't quite know how to respond.
But what about adoption?
How would you respond, Riley?
There's a thing called adoption where if you and another person really want a kid and you can't have a kid, you can adopt. Please do not take my child. This is my child. You can't have my child.
I don't think Tracy's trying to take the child, to be clear.
It was.
I don't think so.
But the emotional
feels more like a role play.
But the thing that gets me is the emotional, like, in this way, this kid kind of saved her in a way, or like helped her keep going. That is tricky to me because I don't know. I just don't want her to think that this is her kid in a way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna need you to take a step back, Tracy.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the way to go about it. I think
Denise McConkey. I think this is how obsession starts, though.
Sure. But she's been vulnerable. People who could grow these obsessions, they don't ever tell you. You're not ever having this conversation with them up front.
Yeah,
this is something you learn after they're in a jail cell. So I don't think that she's anywhere near that level.
Also,
but you're not wrong. It does need to be addressed where it's like, I get you. I'm sympathetic for your situation. And of course, it's something that she should get therapy for, get professional help to process and deal with. But like, you can't use my kid as a coping mechanism. That's not right. After reading many comments on my post saying that I was a jealous harpy and that Tracy was an innocent bystander, or even calmer versions of that mindset, I was surprised that my actual suspicions were actually somewhat correct. This was not the reasoning I ever thought was behind this, though. I thanked her for her honesty and asked if she was talking to anyone else about this. She said she wasn't, but she knew that she should be. She also said that James knew nothing of the extent to which she was feeling, other than sometimes she was a little blue. We spent a while searching online for local mental health specialists and left it with her promising to make an appointment and to talk to James, which is understandable that James doesn't know, because that's a really scary thing to tell your partner.
Yeah.
Because it's like, dang, is that just like okay, I'm infertile, I can't have kids, it's kind of driving me crazy. It's like, well, I'm just going to leave you now. That's the fear, I would assume. After getting home, I contacted James to say that I believed that there needed to be some distance established between him and my daughter to benefit everyone involved in the situation. He said he agreed and that he would always be there for my daughter if she needed him. I asked my daughter that evening, more out of curiosity, as to how she views James, and all she said was he was the nephew's uncle. So I'm taking that to mean that she is by no means dependent on him at the very least. And by the way, you can become dependent on listening to stories just like this in full episodes that you can find on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, search OK Storytime, and you can listen until your ears fall off.
Yep.
Which they won't. It hasn't happened yet.
That we know of.
But there is a first time for everything.
It's not 0%. But we should finish the story.
I don't know if this is the end of this, and I'm sure I will get some criticism for not cutting out James altogether or for even limiting the existing contact, but I believe this will benefit everyone, including Tracy, in the long run. Thank you again for everyone's advice, and we have some top comments here. Travelbug898. I think everyone here acted super maturely, and at least a lot of the loose ends have been tied off because of communication. Exactly. Good on you for all being mature adults here, OP. It doesn't happen as often as it should. Walton says, I mean, I wouldn't say that Tracy acted super maturely exactly, but I commend her for eventually communicating what was going on with her. That is mature of her. Only one I could think of says Tracy's manipulation of the photography session and having it posted online was terrifying. Also, hyphenated names already. Tracy is bold. I do hope she can let go of the idea of your daughter being hers, by extension of James, and that she gets the help she needs. But definitely stay away, because I'm getting creepy walk into a hospital and kidnap a baby vibes from her. And isn't that the most appropriate way to end that story of all time? That's the beauty of everyone having their own thoughts and brains, is that we can all see things through our own lenses, and sometimes we don't see things the same way.